So I've been wanting to make a video that shows the process involved in making my signs that are made from reclaimed wood. So I put together most of the steps that I take during the no wake zone sign process. It's a lot of work, but I think it's worth it in the end. I love seeing the transformation and being able to reuse the wood. So first, we need to get the wood. Thankfully, I have a helpful husband who doesn't mind me sending him all over the place to pick up wood when I see good deals on Facebook Marketplace or wherever. Here he has a truckload of bleacher wood that we got from Eastern Nazarene College in Quincy. So once we've got the wood, it's, well, time to put it away and stack it up and all of that. But then we've got to measure it and cut it down. Then comes the cleaning process. Now, in the case of these bleachers, they are very authentic and they have the chewed up gum to prove it. So there's a lot of gum scraping going on here and all the other miscellaneous stuff that's um, built up on there over the past 50 years. Once it's somewhat clean, I will take some spackle and fill in any holes, big gashes, scrapes, things like that, and then let it dry. Once that coat dries, I go ahead and sand them down. This is probably the most time-consuming step. These bleachers in particular have so many layers of, I don't know if it's lacquer or varnish, but whatever it is, it's on there pretty thick and it takes quite some time to sand off. But I mean, your finished product is only as good as the base, what you start with. So it's a really important step. After that, I usually have to do a few more rounds of adding the spackle depending on the size of the holes. So I'll add some more on there, wait till it dries. Once it's white, it's time to sand it down, add some more, and repeat until it's nice and smooth. Then I always put 1 to 2 coats of primer on the wood. You really need to do this in order to prevent any bleed through of the tannins or knots or things like that. And this shellac-based primer is the only one that does the job for me. I'll either use the spray or the brush-on type from a can. Usually before any of the cutting or anything, I've already come up with the design, so I know what size we need to cut it down to. I spent a lot of time designing, and then I'll make a stencil for each sign. It is a process. A lot of people think that stencils are a shortcut or the easy way out, and I wish I could hand letter. Unfortunately, I don't have that talent. So I do make stencils, and it, it's it's a lot of work, but in the end, I think it's worth it. So after that, when it's time to start painting, I will put on a base coat on the no wake zone signs. The base is white. I like to use this Dixie Belle Silk Mineral paint, and this takes about 2 to 3 coats. This one's really nice and self-leveling, and it doesn't require a top coat, so I don't have to do that. Saves me a few minutes there. After I put that on, I sand it down. That'll give it a nice smooth finish, and I do a little bit of distressing on the edges at this point. I have a thing about needing my signs to feel smooth when I rub my hand across them when they're done. Don't ask me why, but I can't help it. So then I usually use a tack cloth to clean off any of the sand or dust or whatever kind of mess I've made. Tack cloth is one of my favorite tools. It's just really does a good job of picking up every little bit. So then it's time to put the stencil on. So I'm gonna here take off the transfer paper, position it. Usually I have to reposition a few different times till it's on there just right. And then these no wake zone signs take some painter's tape in a couple spots too. Finally, the fun part, get to add some color and paint the ends and paint the lettering. So this takes a while because I do like to do it in thin coats. Can take 2 to 4 coats depending on the color and the look that I want it to have in the end. I do it really thin, and I use these stencil brushes that you can dab it on with so that it doesn't bleed. After that's all dry, I will go over it with a sanding sponge, and I do it while the stencil is still on so that the colors don't smudge onto the paint around them. It also gives it a smooth finish that I like, and I can distress it to my liking. Then it's time for the tack cloth again because I've created some more dust from the paint I just sanded. Love my tack cloths. After that, I seal the design while the stencil is still on. And again, that's so the colors don't run when I apply the sealant or the final top coat. I like to use these blue applicator sponges. They make the job easy, and they're good for a lot of things. They're like $3, one of my favorites. Then when it comes time to remove the stencil, this is always fun to see, but there are always some spots that need a little touching up. And even though the results are supposed to be kind of imperfect, I can't help but be a perfectionist in wanting to get any bleed through that did happen and any paint that got pulled up. So touch-ups can take a little bit. Once that's up, I do need to go over the whole thing to seal it with the top coat. If it's going to be for indoor use, I'll use polyacrylic, and that takes about 2 coats. If it's going to be outdoors, I seal with spar urethane, and that takes 4 coats for it to be fully weatherproof. And it takes about 2 hours of dry time in between each coat and sanding as well. So then once that's done, I go and sand the back one more time with my power sander. That'll just clean up any paint that dripped back there and make it nice and smooth. If the sign is going to be for exterior use, I also seal the back to keep it protected from exposure to the elements. So as I said, that's 4 coats, 2 hours dry time, and sanding in between. Then I'm going to drill the holes that I'll use for the hooks. So I use these screw eye hooks to attach the hanging rope that the sign can hang from. Once those are in, I can add the rope, and I tie it with a nautical knot to go with the theme, and then I heat seal the ends so that they don't fray. After that, I add a tag that has my logo on it and just tells the brief history of where the wood came from. Then it's finally done, but the work isn't over. So I take photos as much as I can. I don't get a photo of every sign I make, but it's important to stage them and take photos so I can put them on social media and Etsy and my website, which I need to update. So if it's from an Etsy order, I then need to package it up and ship it. So there's the bubble wrap and all the, I like to wrap it up nicely with a little bow, sometimes include a gift with purchase, and then get it packed securely into a box and send it out on its way with UPS. So finally, at that point, it is time to promote my signs. So I try to post them somewhat regularly on social media, on Instagram and Facebook, and put them up on my Etsy page if they're available to order. Thanks for watching. Please let me know if you have any questions.